son. Where'd you find this?
Don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
And one thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who acts like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico. They never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide is in front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I serve past peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their phones would bleed, begging the generations remember our.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Thursday. Peace and blessings, glory, praise, honor to the Most High. It's been a while since we did a morning show. It's good to be here. I hope all is well with each and every single one of you. Shout out to my poets, writers, content creators. You see the title. I got Sydney in the building. I got a clip compliments of Instagram. I think we need to have more conversations about things like this. I can't get it out of my head. It may or may not change anything. You might not care. We've talked about this before, and you know, it doesn't really seem like it's on anybody's radar, because guess what? We still here, and we still having the same thing have to be repeated over and over and over again. And I get it though. It's not really in your face, so it doesn't have that type of impact on you. But I think after this, you might think about it a little bit more, at least from my opinion. Let me bring Sydney up on a big screen. And let's get this stream rolling. Hold on a minute. Yo.
Hello. Don't mind him. He wanted to see what I was doing. Yeah, when I was logging in and I saw the official logo of, or it looked like the official logo of the food waste prevention. I forgot which one. But I was very excited. I love covering topics like this that make a difference, because one of the things through my own research, academic research, that I found is that people don't start to care about something because someone tells them to. They start to care about something because something plants a seed. They hear a piece of information, they see something on the news, they see something affecting another person or group of people, and as they kind of go through life, you'll have other experiences that will then add on to that initial first encounter. And a lot of the time, that's what gets people to care, is their ability to connect with something that they already knew of and were beginning to understand. So talking about something puts that seed in people's heads, even if they're not immediately like passionate about something. Eventually they'll have a moment of, hey, I remember somebody saying something about this and I'm now seeing it in real life. I need to know more about this. So this conversation will be good, even if people don't care now, because it can help them later.
And that's why we are here. And with that being said, I'm going to bring this up on a big screen. I'm going to let him cook, and we'll go from there.
States has been exposed to something that our biology was never intended to handle. Energy dense, highly palatable, rapidly absorbable, ultra processed foods that have altered our metabolism and have resulted in the greatest increase in chronic disease in our history. Type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, hypertension, abnormal lipids, fatty liver, heart attacks, stroke, heart failure.
From our food.
From our food.
His name is Dr. David Kessler. He's the former FDA commissioner. This is the guy that used to run the Food and Drug
Administration. Yep.
Saying we are facing something that we've never faced in human history, as far as almost every disease is being caused by processed food. That's alarming.
I give credit to the minister. They told you a long time ago that one of the ways that they're going to focus on depopulation was through fake food, and we fell for it.
Did we fall for it, or do we not have a choice?
Well, there's a couple of, the Eat to Live blueprint is one way. Dr. Sebi is one way. Even the times I go to Mexico, they'll say that Rockefeller invented the 3 meals a day thing, that you only need like 6 meals a week to sustain. So you have different, that's why like intermittent fasting is becoming a lot more prevalent. Do we have a choice? It's tougher and it's more costly, but there is an alternative for sure.
I mean, our species, I read this book, it was like ultra marathon runners, right? An ultra marathon is like a 100-mile run.
Yeah.
And they were saying that, our ancestors 10,000 years ago, in the safari of Africa, right? Because all civilization comes from there. Like, people used to travel hundreds of miles.
Yes.
And eat very rarely.
Yes.
Like you said, 6 times, even it might not even been 6 times a week. Just recently have we slowed down to the point where we don't move at all for the most part. We just talked about how most people just stay in their basement all day.
Yeah.
And we eat 4 to 5 times a day. We're not even eating real food. I just saw something today that one of the worst things for you is juice.
Because there's no fiber attached to the sugar. Yeah.
They compared it to literally melting a lollipop and drinking it. The food that we're eating is causing cancer and is causing everything else: diabetes, high blood pressure, low sex drive. That's one of the reasons why there's not having kids either.
Absolutely.
Is that the testosterone levels in the
so low.
Women are not as fertile as they used to be, and men sperm count and testosterone levels, you compare it to what it was 50 years ago, it's like 70% less.
The United States has been exposed.
All right. And that's the gist of it. Your initial thoughts on the video.
This is the type of stuff I listen to all day. I love to listen. So everyone who watches, who knows me, knows like climate change is my thing. Food science and the way it affects our body is my other secret thing. I don't talk about it very often because I don't retain that information, like the specific information, as well as I do the climate change stuff, like the actual numbers and whatnot. But food science has always been something that deeply interests me, partially because I think I have an underlying like health fear Like I really don't want to experience certain diseases that cause bodily breakdown. So I try and adjust my life to match the best outcomes. Because everything they were saying in this video, we could literally have a whole series on just this topic with how much there is, how much different things affect our health, affect our health outcomes. Like when you're older, health is like directly in the moment. And there are so many things that we have added into our lives that affect the food that we eat. Plastic the food is wrapped in, how you cook your food, how the food is stored, how the food is processed, what the food is treated with even before it becomes the food item. Like there's so many different things that we do to our food that compromise its ability to actually work for us. Additionally, stuff from our environment, kind of like the wrapping, but also other things, contribute to that. They do certain things, especially to meats and sometimes vegetables, to make them grow beyond their optimum capacity. And, you know, science and industry has always been trying to maximize everything forever, the best, the biggest, the whatever. We have definitely, especially since like the 30s, or I don't know, maybe industrialization, when it increased the ease of access to food, with all the machines and stuff, production went up. But we are very different than how we used to eat. And it's not a coincidence that we do have a rise in everything from mental illness to physical illness to mental decline, mental illnesses, physical disabilities. All of that is linked to our environment. Not all of it is caused, like obviously cavemen had cancer, people had diseases for all of recordable time. And you can even find evidence in bodies. But anyway, it affects every single one of us. And there's a lot to it. So everything in the video was true from what I've researched.
There's things that they brought up. It's not even just in this video, but in the last, I'd say, month or so, there's been so many different videos that I've seen online talking about this is what they put in your potato chips. This is what they put in your cereal.
Mm-hmm.
You really shouldn't be drinking milk.
Awesome.
You shouldn't be eating this and you should be eating that because they're doing this to this. And it's like when I was younger, you didn't have these conversations. Nobody was in the household telling you about this stuff. You had a routine. You got up in the morning, your folks fixed breakfast, and typically breakfast was bacon, eggs, and maybe cereal and other things of that nature. But nobody was really getting down to the science behind what's actually in the stuff that we're actually putting in our body. You know? So to see this all now, when you're older and you're more concerned about your health, I think it's sad. And I take partial blame in it for myself just for not being more curious about this sooner. Just off the strength that at least I want to be healthier. But it's like, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Things have drastically changed since those days. And yeah, I don't know if this is going to be looked at as serious as it should be.
I think the awareness is definitely changing with the advent and widespread of the internet. I think people are more informed than ever. Food science itself, in the way of like modifying food and whatnot, started occurring unnaturally. I say that because we, as like in the past, when we had to grow all of our own food, we did know about crossbreeding. I think that information came up around the 1800s, but I think people also kind of knew based on patterns how to do it over time, because in the thousands of years, like wheat has gotten bigger, wheat grains have gotten bigger, rice grains have gotten more starchy, like fruits and stuff that we all know as a certain way were not the same in the past. Like strawberries were smaller, watermelon had less like yellow or red bits. So we've always been modifying food, but it was more natural. It was, we self-selected the ones that had those things and planted those seeds and so on. But in the 50s, that's when, it was after the World War II, we had a much deeper understanding of chemical science. And so they started to use that in other areas. That's why consumerism changed. That's why eating habits changed, production of goods changed, clothing, everything changed, because we started to learn that you can use the chemicals in your environment to manipulate the things that you consume. You can make it cheaper for them to be used. You can make the whatever is producing it produce bigger, like bigger cows and bigger, as I said, like grains and stuff. So this modification originally, like people did follow food science. I think there's been food science in the classroom since at least the 40s to 50s. But it hasn't been like common knowledge. But I think it's now becoming common knowledge just because it's so pervasive in the news. And also people are experiencing the effects firsthand now. There's right now an epidemic of younger and younger women showing up with endocrine cancers and reproductive cancers. Same with men. Men are experiencing fertility at higher rates and earlier in life. I didn't read it, but I saw the headline this morning that they believe men are aging faster because of forever chemicals in plastic. Forever chemicals are called that because once they enter a biological system, they don't really go away. It takes thousands and thousands of years for them to actually fully decay. So there are things that we're consuming in our bodies that stay there and do not go away. And those are the type of factors that contribute to cancer, and also other types of diseases, because we fail to think about the human body from the microscopic perspective. We see it from a lifestyle perspective, like, oh, well, this certain habit fits into my life, so that's what I'm going to do. Or I do or don't like that certain habit, so that's what I'll do. But the body, it basically operates the same way at a molecular level, where you have really, really tiny tubes and openings all throughout your body. And if you're consuming a complex molecule, which is going to be bigger than a simple molecule like oxygen or like hydrogen, we all know like hydrogen is one atom, so it's really, really tiny. But if you have something that's a produced chemical, that's a bunch of different, you can have carbon, you oxygen, whatever. So you're making a huge molecule, and molecules, depending on the type it is, can stick together. And when you have molecules of a certain thing accumulating, collecting in your body in small tubes, you're going to block those tubes. You're going to kill off their access to oxygen and blood. And so from a microscopic level, you're damaging your cells and the systems that your organs rely on. So it's not just the organs, it's the cells within the organs. And a lot of people don't think about it that way, but also it's kind of a losing battle because we aren't the ones producing it. It's not like humans are like, oh, if you cook this, it's like what you wear, what you eat, what you breathe, the things your house is made out of, the things you sleep on. Like, it's very hard. You really would have to live Amish to not be exposed to as many chemicals. But even they are, because the air, the soil, the food, the water, it's all being contaminated by these same things. So yeah, it's sad because as educated as we can become about it, we still have to do tremendous things to be able to fix anything, because we have to basically stop these companies from producing these things, prevent science and commerce from or industry from utilizing these discoveries, which, I mean, it's monumental for us to fix that. So yeah, education is what will push people to start pushing back, I think, is the most important takeaway.
Fight the new world order or move aside. That's exactly what this looked like, because I think about this and everything that is coming out that's being presented to the people. And to be honest with you, it's always been here. Always. I don't know how frequent we go to the doctors. I don't know how often you have a personal conversation or what type of relationship you have with your physicians, if you even have one. A lot of us don't even go to the doctors at all. And like you said, it's a lifestyle. I was brought up on soul food. I was brought up on this. So I didn't really care, or nor was I concerned about if any of this stuff was breaking down properly in my body when I was younger. The older you get and you start to notice that you can't bend your fingers and your toes, and your back ain't the same. You coughing more, you got more phlegm coming up, you developing dementia, and all of these headaches are coming out of it. You're not really thinking, oh, damn, it must have been those thousands of pizzas that I stuffed down my throat for the last 10 years or so. It like I'm being completely honest. I understand that. I understand all this now. What I'm saying is most of us weren't really educated on this stuff. And it goes from this, and it goes back to the government, how they raise the taxes on everything, and how they have like this division between cultures. It's really, really scary to consider the fact that this has really just been right in our face forever, and we never really paid much attention to it at all. So now I'm looking at everything that's in my refrigerator, like, I need to throw this out, I need to throw that out, I can't eat this no more. The ground beef, we're talking about how they pretty much are explaining and telling us that everything that we've been consuming in the grocery store is really just been designed to make us sick and kill us off. And it's not that I just figured it out. It's the conversation's more or less about, it's finally being spoken about more. You don't really hear people have these conversations a lot. You turn on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you go on any of these apps, what are we talking about? Cardi B, Glorilla, Jay-Z, uh, football, basketball, sports. You don't
Politics.
exactly, especially politics. Nobody is really talking about this type of stuff. So that's my position. And also, everybody's home wasn't brought up the same way. I don't think that there's a lot of families that sat down with their kids and spoke about um, how much sugar intake you're supposed to have, or why it's important to eat homegrown and eat natural earth given fruits and vegetables and not this altered shit. I don't think you had a lot of people that were talking about GMOs and all that. So
Have you ever seen the movie Soylent Green?
I haven't.
If anyone's interested in a dystopia about food, watch Soylent Green. It is quite interesting. I'm not going to give it away, but it's a very impactful movie if that is something that you think about or want to know about. Granted, it is science fiction. So what was one of the things I was going to say? With education, another thing that complicates it is, well, two things. One, everyone is different. Every body needs different things. And that's why, just like you said, going to the doctor is so important, because you can understand your body's specific needs. But again, a lot of people don't do that regularly, either because they don't know they should, they don't want to, they just are far away from doctors, they don't have time to. Like, there's so many reasons, but a doctor that actually cares about you, which is also hard to come by, is very important. A lot of people don't even know how to advocate for their health. They just like, oh, well, the doctor said it, so I'm just going to go with them. And like, I've had my fair share of experiences with doctors that didn't listen. And unfortunately, that can kill you. Having a doctor that does not listen to you or does not care about you could actually kill you, because they won't investigate things that you're concerned about. They won't know who you are and know how to best work with you. And so a lot of people instead are relying on the internet. And we all know how that is. We all know most people are on social media. We all know people love clickbait titles. And if you don't have the background information to understand how to tell what's true or not, or when to pick out things that are complete BS and be like, that, no, or know how to investigate further, they're just going to believe the first headline. And I myself, even as somebody with a lot of experience as a researcher who loves to read, who loves to understand things, I still mess up. I still post things that I find out later aren't true. It's very hard because we're consuming so much more information than we ever did. Like, we used to rely on books, and prior to the 1600s, books were so honestly, like 1800s, books were for people that could afford them, and they were very expensive back then because they didn't really have the printing press yet, up until like 1890s, I think. So everything was done by hand and whatnot. I said printing press, I meant printer. Printing press was invented a while ago, but still, that took a lot of time. Anyway, the information that we're getting isn't always true. And also, the science doesn't know everything. As much as we like to think scientists know everything, scientists definitely don't know everything. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of things they still don't understand. There's some diseases they know surprisingly limited information about, like pancreatic cancer, which is one of the deadliest forms of cancer. We also don't even fully understand the chemicals that are affecting us. We might understand there's a link between them, but we might not know how it actually affects us, or how much is safe to have. Because everything is good. I mean, not everything, but most, like the nutrients and stuff, everything is good for you. But too much of any of them can kill you. Too much sugar, you get diabetes because you tire out your body's system to process it. You eat too much fat, it accumulates in under your skin and eventually starts to press against your circulatory system. And so the your blood and stuff passing through your blood can't do so effectively. And so stuff like your kidneys, your lungs, your liver, all the organs that have small tubes, they get blocked or they get partially shut. And so then you start to have these issues with your heart pumping, with your lungs taking in oxygen, with your blood exchanging nutrients. So then you have deficiencies or you have excess buildup of stuff, which can cause their own problems. So there's a lot. There's a lot to it. And it's hard for someone who works a 9 to 5, who has kids, who has a life and to live, especially when we're struggling so much, to understand it all. So education is only part of the issue. It's people's even use of that information and access to good information, because the information is out there. It's just we don't really know how to utilize it.
I think that's about to change for a lot of people. If you're anything like me, once you see something, you can't unsee it. It would be very hard for me after all of what's been posted for me to just go back to consuming something, knowing that these things have been strategically put in place for the very reasons we are in. If you are brand new to this channel, I want to tell you right now, there are things that I upload that I speak about, not for clicks and views, but it's for educational purposes, because you might know something about that specific subject matter that I presented that I don't, and you can relate to it. I want to put more eyes on it because nobody really concerns themselves with them things. But if you consider this for a second, imagine you could have prevented some things from happening had you have had this information televised more frequently. I'm not talking about we just have one channel or one specific platform that talks about it, where you have actually 20, 30 different men and women on YouTube and Facebook, and you have multiple sources speaking about the same things. We would take this serious, but you don't have an abundance of that. You have to scroll, and the algorithm has to teach your platform or your channel. All right, they speak about this, so I can refer them to more of these things. But if you don't have that going on, then it's a little more like it's out of sight, out of mind. So if I don't see nobody talking about it, then I'm not really going to be too concerned about it, which is one of the reasons why I agree with what Sydney said and what 990 said when it was like, all right, there's not really much we can do about it. I don't think we're going to shut down these companies. I don't think we're going to do that. But I think a lot of people are going to change their diets. They're going to struggle a little bit with it, but a lot of people have already been doing it and are continuing to do it. I can also see them making it more expensive for you to go from eating healthier to eating junk food. That right there, I think, is another thing we need to consider as well. Like, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it, but they're really, really going to try to make it harder for you to go from eating McDonald's to going vegan or just staying away from cows and this, that, and the third. I want to bring this up on the big screen real quick. Did you know that you will exceed the FDA's recommended safe yearly intake of arsenic if you eat more than 20? I actually didn't know that, but guess what? I just posted a video, I believe it was the day ago, like a day or two ago, and they were talking about the candy, which is interesting that you brought that up. We definitely need unity. They have tampered with the candy. They have tampered with your favorite cookies, your favorite chips. Like if you really knew what they were doing to a lot of this stuff, that's what we're here for now. If you really like knew what they were doing to this stuff, it would make you sick to your stomach. Just the other day, and we never really got into it, but I want to revisit that one at some point. They flavored a lot of the food with what they call HEC 290 or something like that, and it's actually the DNA of deceased infant embryos. They use it and put it in some of the things that you drink and eat. So it's like between that and all the other things that we've brought up here, I can understand why, one, it doesn't really get spoken about enough. Secondly, I can admit that I'm completely brand new to some of this stuff. I yield the mic.
I would love to make this a regular talk because there's so much behind the chemicals that we put into our bodies. And just like the commenter as well as yourself said, the serving size also matters. Like some people don't even know that you can flip the box over and see how many servings you like. When you have the nutrient information, it's per serving and not per package, per whatever. And the packaging can be deceiving. Sometimes you can get 2 servings in a single container, like a single packet, or like if you look at the actual serving size, sometimes it's like, for example, in Nerds, I don't know what it exactly is, but it could be like 15 pieces or something. And who's going to eat just 15 Nerds? People are going to eat that whole damn. Again, I'm using Nerds as an example, but there are a lot of foods that are like that, where we can eat through a whole chip bag. And if we look, it could be like 6 to 8 servings. And so you're getting like 12,000 calories or something like that. Some of the foods can be crazy with how much they introduce into your system. So it's important to pay attention to the nutrient facts when you're eating things, especially if you are consuming a lot of a particular item. In the video, they mentioned fasting. The reason fasting is so important is because it gives your body a chance to use all of the stored up accumulated stuff in your body, the calcium, which takes a long time to kind of dissolve and move around to where it needs to go, the sugar, the carbohydrates, stuff like that, the fats. It allows your body a chance to actually process them and move them to the places they need to be. When you eat large quantities of food that are highly calorie intense, you're going to allow all of that to build up in your body. And if you're eating like throughout the day, constantly snacking, you aren't exercising, you're basically letting all of that stuff you're putting into your body sit there. because it can't get out in time. And so that's why a lot of people start to, especially with obesity, like severe obesity, it's the accumulation of all that stuff and the body couldn't get it out fast enough. And so eventually the body shuts down because it's not able to function with that much stuff inside it. So that's why the combination of food and exercise is important. Adding fasting is important. But the other thing that you have to consider is everybody, as I said earlier, everybody's different. A female body is going to need different things, and a male body is different than what a 2-year-old versus a 90-year-old versus an athlete. How you live your life is going to affect, and conditions you have will affect what you need to eat. I mean, the simplest example, when a woman is pregnant, she has to change how she eats. There's certain things she can't eat. There's certain things she needs to increase her consumption of because she's now feeding a second body. If somebody's sick, they're going to want to eat certain foods so they can regain the nutrients and stuff that will help their body heal. But when you eat, like, for example, I made a thing of pasta for my kids, and there's undoubtedly more than, like, I would say, let me see. Serving size, 2 ounces. Who's going to measure 2 ounces of pasta? Nobody's going to measure the stuff they put in their meal. And so they often will end up eating 2.5 meals per meal. So that, tying back to the accumulation, imagine doing that every single day, especially with things that have bad things in them. Like I'm sure a lot of us have heard of the red food dye stuff and sugar additives and random chemicals they make up to add flavor to your food. All of that's going to build up in your body. And I'm sure you can imagine the type of damage that could end up doing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, if you can't imagine it now, well, let me rephrase that. If you couldn't imagine it then, you definitely can imagine it now. Why? Because your body is reacting to all of it. Then it's to me, it's no different than having a vehicle for 10, 15 years, and then you start to notice that the engine isn't doing what it used to. Your tires don't have the traction to them anymore. Everything's starting to break down. You still get to and fro, but you're being limited more and more, and increasingly. The mileage on it is showing you that, yeah, you've put a lot of wear and tear on this, and now you have to get extra tune-ups. You have to get placed, and that's what we essentially are doing to our bodies. Hopefully, we take this as a teachable moment. This is the opportunity to ask ourselves the question: how much do we really care about the longevity of our existence on this planet? Like how much time do you really have? If you had to gauge about how good you treated yourself, how much did you really love yourself? How much maintenance work did you put on your body? How often do you go to the gym? How often do you really look at the ingredients and the things that's on these boxes and on these packages? How frequently are you investing in your health? And then come back and really look at, well, all right, this is the overall outcome that I've gotten. from everything that I've been doing to myself. This is why my body is moving the way it is. This is why I can't jump and I can't scream. And these are the things that added on to it. Maybe I just wasn't taking care of myself the way that I thought I was. And now I got a chance to do it. I can prevent some stuff from happening. I'm mad, but I'm not mad. Like I knew that they were up to no good and they didn't really have the greatest intentions for us. You said earlier that at one point we were just trying to make it to where we could still eat healthier, but we could do it in a way that it wasn't tampering with what we were consuming. So if you're cloning letters and cloning this and that, it still has its original taste and things of that nature, but you weren't like adding extra little things in there that was going to destroy us from the inside out. When they start introducing cloning meat and cloning this and cloning that, and then you start hearing them talk about how they're spraying down crops and doing, that's when I was really getting more nervous more and more every day, because everything that we need is right outside our front doors. I did a show on that one too. There's a gentleman who was speaking about it. Your front yard, your backyard, you got everything that you need. And he was making the argument as to say, well, why don't they want you growing your own fruits and vegetables? Why don't they want you producing any of this stuff organically on your own property? Once upon a time, everybody used to have it. Now you don't see it. Everybody's front yards, everybody's properties, barren wasteland. The earth gives us everything we need. All we have to do is put in a little elbow grease and do it ourselves. Then we wouldn't have to worry about relying on a lot of these companies to produce what we so need and desire. Hold on. Yeah, they definitely do it on purpose. They definitely do it on purpose. There's a conversation with Epstein where he's talking about how they can actually depopularize the country because there's too many poor people. So this has been in talks for a long time. They've been doing this to us for a very long time, through the food, through you name it. It's just it this is one of them things where it seemed like it was just too far-fetched. There's no way another human being is going to do that to another human being. This all conspiracy talk. It's just nonsense. It's just clickbaiting for social media. But here we are.
I think another thing that is not really considered or is not really the first thought is, sadly, the great majority of the companies, the people that work for those companies, they're doing it because they need a job. They might know the information, but brush it off and be like, well, I need a job somewhere. But the people who run the companies, who understand how it works, stuff like that, oftentimes, not saying every case, but they're not doing it because they're like, let me introduce this chemical and make everyone sick because I want them sick. But they want the profits that come with the benefits with whatever that thing is but they don't care that we're suffering because they're making so much money. They'll try to point blame at something else. That's why you see so many news sources that try and say, oh, well, it's our faults. They shift the blame. One second.
I didn't know. I heard a little bit about Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to that extent though.
Yeah, the companies understand what they're doing. They understand that their products might have an impact, but because of their concentration of power, essentially, these are very powerful companies. They don't want to give up those profits. If you're making millions or billions of dollars off of a certain chemical, you're just going to be like, oh, well, it's probably because of some other thing. They ate something else, or it was their fault. They didn't exercise. They didn't whatever. You can see this a lot with the weight loss industry, where they basically make it seem like we're completely helpless to ever control our weight. And so we need the chemicals and medicines and special foods that they invented for us to help us. They don't care. They just want the money that they get from us buying those products or companies buying their products. So I don't believe most of them have actual malice for us. Like, I don't think this is some joined up like cohesion of people trying to take us down. But I think that they are still knowingly committing harm on us without caring that they're doing so. So it's not that it's better. It's still really terrible. But I just like to reframe people's mind on that stuff because some of the stuff can be fixed with understanding human psychology, because understanding how people get to that point can prevent us from having people in the future that are willing to perpetrate harm on other people for money. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention too is the weight loss industry is another huge reason why food science is such a big thing and continues to be such a big thing, because they have added such a deep sense of dissatisfaction with who we are and how we look and how we are perceived by others, that they've made it seem like a need to look a certain way without caring about the actual health behind it. A healthy body is a beautiful body, but they have trained us to think that a beautiful body fits in a specific parameter. Like, you have to be skinny with an hourglass waist, you have to have long, luscious hair, you have to have like blemish-free face, and everything has to be skinny. But they've caused this issue within us, because it makes it easier to sell us products. Because if you're insecure, if you feel like you have no power to help yourself, you're going to look for easy solutions and just buy medications. And a lot of the medications that are being used as weight loss products were originally made for something completely different. They made Ozempic to help people that had, I think it was either obesity or diabetes. But it was supposed to be a natural way to help them lose unsafe weight. But now it's being misused by the wealthy to get this image that they're imagining in their head, because image is important to them. But that's leaking down into the rest of the population, because who do we look up to, or a lot of people look up to? Celebrities. And if they're doing it, they're going to do it. And then guess who doesn't have access? The people that actually need it, because it becomes expensive.
Yeah. We just need to get up off of this. Just we don't really have nobody to blame but ourselves. Period. You know, education is key. The more we know, the better we do. The time for change is here. I just I wish more people were concerned about these things, man. Because a lot of our loved ones passed away because of this. And I'm not talking about one specific thing, but there are connections when you really look at it. I'm not going to sit here and say 100% definitively that they want to kill all the population, but from what I've seen and what I've witnessed, I do believe they want to kill all the population. I mean, take it with a grain of salt.
They don't want to kill us off because who would they sell to?
Well, you got a point. I guess they will sell to themselves.
Lies. selling themselves lies.
The well thing about it, put it this way, and I close out with this. You give us all the crappy stuff, and then you keep all the good stuff for yourself. You know, it makes more sense. You don't share. It's like don't share. It's like when a person is jealous or envious of a person, so they don't want to share their secrets or they became successful. So you kind of just sabotage them and give them little things that take them off the course that you were on. Of course, I could be wrong. My last thoughts on it. More and more is coming out. And as long as it's continued to come out, I'm gonna talk about it. If not for anything else other than to bring more eyes to it so we can actually do more to protect ourselves and our loved ones in the future while we still have one to look forward to. Shout out to everybody that pulled up in the chat. Love the engagement, love the back and forth. Appreciate you for sharing your knowledge and like the information that is lacking, because there's things that you shared here that I wasn't even aware of that now I'm going to be more privy to look into. See if you want to add anything before we close out. You got the floor.
Two things. One, I feel like we should just make this morning session all about health because there's so much to it. But pesticides, food corporations, weight loss industry, all the diseases that are affecting us. Like there's a lot to it. So I'd definitely be interested in continuing to revisit the topic, especially because I think it would help people having a source of like a conglomeration of information. Yeah. I was going to read a scathing poem about how much I hate food companies or like corporations in general, but I thought I'd instead end with a short, more positive poem instead, since we've already been scathing them the entire time. So this poem is called "I've Got You Covered." Running over hills and valleys, spaces full of dreams, deep oceans full of self-esteem, the blanket of protection numbs the harsh sensations, source of artistic articulation, windows to the world of warmth, and can taste the sky. enwraps us and enables us to sense our passion's fire. Shield from the hatred, but keyhole to the soul, the outer edges of ourselves to really make us whole. Blackish brown or whitish brown or others in between, the lavish leathers and the wise, the blemished and the new. Beauty is not just skin deep, for beauty's really you.
And with that being said, good folks, appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. I got a show later on this evening. If you are free, pull up. Let's chop it up. Have a conversation. Do me a solid before you go, if you don't mind. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. We out.
Have a good day, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their phones would bleed, begging the generations remember our.